You are listening to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Pro-Black Perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions. Your host tonight is the author of the Pro-Black Compendium and Zuberi and the Maroons of Maa, the Pan-African Nationalist, Oni. Oni, what are we discussing tonight?
You have a good show today. You've spoken. On social media, I put up a poll asking you, what topic do you want me to speak about today? I gave you 4 choices. I said, do you want to speak about why we should bother to fight? I noticed a lot of conversation around pro-black sleeping white. So I said, do you want to have a conversation on, can you be pro-black and sleep white? One of the brothers suggested that we do a topic on the threat of the white liberals. And I also considered doing the topic of support living authors. When the vote was in, we had 19 votes. 2 votes for why bother to fight. 2 votes for can pro-black sleep white. 8 votes for the threat of white libs. And 7 votes for support living authors. Usually, I would say if I get 10 votes, if the winner gets 10 votes, then I should consider it. But this time, I'm saying, whatever. Let's do this. The 8 votes to threat of the white libs. This is the topic you chose because you're on my social media and you're voting for the next topic. So you chose this topic, and it's a great topic because I get to crack open my Race First by Tony Martin. You know, the ideological and organizational struggles of Marcus Garvey and the Universal Negro Improvement Association, right? The classic study of the Garvey movement. This book right here, I get to open it up for this topic because this topic is very important. And Garvey, of all people in our past, would be well versed in the white liberal. I also get to open up one of my old articles, which is a critique of race traders, abolish the white race. So there's this group of white people who refer to themselves as race traders, and their whole premise is they should abolish the white race. So I get to open up that article, and I'm just going to go into it a little briefly, but remind me to share with you the link so that you could check out this article for yourself. It's an old article. It's from 2012, before you even heard about me. But like I said, I have over 400 articles. So, you know, pretty much any topic that you can think of, I probably have an article on it. So, in that sense, though, we're going to open up Marcus Garvey. We're going to open up Race First, change the page 274. And understand, Race First is a really fundamental book for you. You know, you want to get Race First. You want to get other Marcus Garvey books, you know, but then you want to get the Carlos A. Cook's Reader. And if you need that, you just, you know, send me a message and I can get it to you. And you also want to get the Pro-Black Compendium and Zuberi and the Maroons of Maa. Both of them are available on Amazon. But you want to get Garvey, Cooks, Oni. You want to get those three. You might even want to get your own shelf of these people. You know, all the books you can find on Garvey. You probably can't get the books on Cooks, you know, in print. If you could, you know, more power to you. If you can't, that's fine. I could send you the ebook, right? But then try to get a hold of my books as well. You know, that shelf right there, that's your number one shelf. You know, there's other great books out there, sure, but you know, make sure you have Race First. Make sure you have the Pro-Black Compendium. Make sure you have Carlos A. Cook's Reader, because these are not the brothers that I just mentioned. You know, myself included, obviously, right? We're not just talking. You understand? We're not just talking. We're not just pontificating, and we're clear-sighted. And you'll see that here, because I'm going to read you this quote on page 274. And you know, if nothing else, you got to get this book, right? This Race First. But here's what Marcus Garvey says in a speech entitled "Beware of Greeks Bearing Gifts." The greatest enemies of the Negro are among those who hypocritically profess love and fellowship for him, when in truth and deep down in their hearts they despise and hate him. Pseudo-philanthropists and their organizations are killing the Negro. White men and women of the Moorfield Story, Joel Spingern, Julius Rosenwald, Oswald Garrison Villard, Congressman Dyer, and Mary White Ovington type, in conjunction with the above-mentioned agencies, are disarming, disvisioning, disambitioning, and fooling the Negro to death. They teach the Negro to look to the whites in a false direction, at the same time distracting the Negro from the real solution and objective of securing nationalism. In a sense, even though you all voted on it, I can technically say, look, I don't need to talk on this discussion anymore, because one, Garvey just said it all. He just said it all. And two, if you want to know about these white liberals, these white liberals and the integrationists, you know, the black people who correspond with them, the integrationists, you just got to pick up Race First. You just got to pick up Garvey's book, and you're good. You know, on my social media, I just wrote rules for, you know, when you want to say think publicly, right? And I said, look, you know, read one related book before you offer one related thought. You know, read 2 related books before you write 1 related tweet. Read 4 related books before you write 1 related article, and read 10 related books before you write 1 related book. Now some may say, well, maybe you should read more books, even more books before you write a book, right? I would say that too, but how am I going to write my book? I don't even have time to read the 10 I'm supposed to read. You know what I'm saying? But why I'm telling you this is to let you know that you should be reading. Okay? You should be reading. That's what you should be doing. Now, yes, it's good to listen to, you know, somebody else read and speak to you. Sure, that's great. You know, log on, listen to Oni, you know, get his books, you know, or even, you know, well, I mean, how it looks really is like, y'all like, well, I don't want to get this dude's books, but the whole thing is this: pick up a book, read a book, and try to find books that are related to what you're looking to think on. Because this question, like I said, Garvey just said it all. You know, and Race First, it goes more in depth into it, and like I said, in the description of what we need to do, you know, I read this book just now just in order to answer this question. Now, I mean, not cover to cover, but you know, I made sure to, you know, fold certain pages, and when I came back to those pages, or I had memory of where things were, and I checked it, transcribed it, and now I'm bringing it back to you. But the whole thing is that if you read this book, race first, you'll get a more thorough understanding of the question at hand. Even more so than what I'm going to tell you. You understand? But on that note, and I'm not going to keep going with page numbers, but I'll tell you the page number here for now. 277, right? Tony Martin records that now pay back attention to what Garvey was saying. The people he mentioned, Spingern and Alvington, were two of the names that he mentioned, right? Spingern and Alvington are actually important for this question. So let's just go back to how Garvey said what these liberals are doing, right? He says they are disarming, disvisioning, and disambitioning, and fooling the Negro to death, and they teach the Negro to look to the whites in a false direction, always distracting the Negro from a real solution and objective of securing nationalism, right? So the NAACP, Alvington and them, right, they have this anti-lynching bill called the Dyer Bill. Now remember, Marcus Garvey mentioned certain people. He said Joel Spingern, Congressman Dyer, Mary White Alvington. Now he mentioned other people, but these are important. These are not, let's not say important, right, because they're crackers, right? But these are white people that will facilitate that I'm going to use to facilitate your understanding of liberals, right? So Dyer has a bill called the Dyer Bill, right? He's a congressman, so he has a bill called the Dyer Bill, and what it is the anti-lynching bill. In private, listen to this, on page 277, you find out that in private, Mary White Alvington writes Spingern. Remember Spingern? Mary White Alvington, and bear in mind, she's the co-founder of the NAACP. She writes privately to Spingern that whites would not pass a bill to punish whites for lynching blacks. She's the co-founder of the NAACP. She's saying that whites would not pass a bill to punish whites for lynching blacks. She doesn't believe in it. She doesn't believe in the bill. And she's letting you know how white people think. Your life is not worth their life. You can tell them as much as you want, Black Lives Matter. They might say sure, but not as much as a white life. You understand? Part of the reason why, if a police officer kills you, he gets off, is because your life is not worth the police officer's life to the white man. Now, if the police kills a white person, sure. Especially a white person of note, sure. You could ruin that white boy's life. But white people can't fathom punishing whites for hurting black people. And they shouldn't be able to fathom that. They shouldn't. Because again, and this is where we don't understand. White people are practicing nationalism, right? And I realize it's a hard thing to grasp, because the wording is too familiar, So what I'm saying is that white people have a nation, right? That you're not really in. You're a second class citizen, if you will. So the first class citizen, right, has certain rights that are above the second class citizen. You get what I'm saying? So what they do, it's kind of like with unfortunately, it's like with pets. You could shoot your dog, and nobody would prosecute you for it. You understand what I'm saying to you? You could shoot a black person, not equating black people with dogs. I'm saying that the way how white people think is that you can shoot a black person and it's okay. It's not like you harmed a fellow citizen. It's not like you harmed a fellow national. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? The way that white people look at this, and bear in mind, again, this is the NAACP's co-founder, one of the co-founders of the NAACP, and a woman, mind you, a white woman. So, and this, and I emphasize that too, because sometimes you might think, well, it's just a white man. No, this is a white woman in the NAACP, right? And she's saying, look, real talk, white people would not pass a bill to punish whites for lynching blacks. Because and it's not what she's saying per se, but it is what she's saying. Privately, she, as a white person, wouldn't really support punishing whites for lynching blacks. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Now, Spingarn. Let's go back to Spingarn. Spingarn, right? That's who she wrote the letter to, right? We have to analyze this white liberal, right? How white liberals think, and understand that. Let's say in this way, that there's the white liberal and the white conservative, right? There's the black integrationist, right? And if you want, the black separatists, although it might even be better to say the black nationalists, right? So what I'm going to do is, because I write it later on, I'm just going to edit that. But here's what I'm saying, right? You have the white liberal and the black integrationist, the white conservative and the black nationalist, right? And so Spingarn, for whatever it's worth, we're going to talk about him in regards to the white liberal, and then we're going to go on to this other, to this brother. His name is Johnson. His last name is Johnson. I didn't write down his first name, but when you read Race First, you can. Oh, actually, no. I took this off of offline. So actually, I'm gonna pull up. It's from a book called Du Bois and His Rivals, and obviously it's on Google Books or whatever, right? But I'm gonna, if you want the link to this passage I have it over here, just let me know. But basically, there's a brother named Johnson, right? And I'm gonna look up his first name for you, because I didn't really figure it too important to put down his first name, because I was so used to it already. Let's see. Oh, James Weldon Johnson. Yeah. So in Race First, you see his name all the time, but James Weldon Johnson will be, let's say, the definitive black integrationist. And I mean, not really like because Du Bois would really be it, but we're going to talk about their ideas as expressed in this book called Du Bois and His Rivals, right? So here's first Spingarn, who is again a white liberal. This is how the author of Du Bois and His Rivals, Raymond Walters, puts it. He says, Spingarn adhered to the concept of cultural pluralism, the belief that a given race or ethnic group should preserve its unique cultural heritage while at the same time seeking full integration into all other facets of the larger society. Preservation of the black cultural heritage remained one of Spingarn's concerns throughout his life. He insisted that a greater emphasis upon black cultural nationalism must be a vital aspect of any new direction taken by the Negro, right? So there you have that, right? Spingarn is not now, if to the untrained ear, right, this sounds like a good thing, right? He's saying black people should contain their, like, should keep their culture, okay, should keep their culture, but fully integrate otherwise into the white society, right? But you know, if you're paying attention, you'll see what's wrong with this. And of course, I'm gonna elaborate on it later, but in short, you know, this goes back into one of my earlier podcasts on let's say nationalism, right? But the idea is that you were reduced to a culture that was apolitical and non-economical. You understand? Now, culture is supposed to be political and economical, right? You have to have them all together, right? But here's what the white liberal does. He reduces you from a political and economical being into a cultural being. And you could kind of see this in the sense that what makes black people different or special or whatever is their culture, or in other words, they're entertaining each other, or they're entertaining white people. So Spingarn, if you really understand what this is saying, he's saying black folks should come in, work for us, whatever, but also stay black to keep us entertained. And I'm going to reread it after explaining that to you so that you can see, so you can understand how or where this is coming from. So he says the concept, you know, that Spingarn adheres to the concept of cultural pluralism, the belief that a given race or ethnic group should preserve its unique cultural heritage while at the same time seeking full integration into all other facets of the larger society. Preservation of the black cultural heritage remained one of Spingarn's concerns throughout his life. He insisted that a greater emphasis upon black cultural nationalism must be a vital aspect of any new direction taken by the Negro. So you get it though, right? This integration is there's already a larger society at place, right? There's already, everything is already occupied except for the entertainment, if you will. Or everything's occupied except for this one space kept for your black cultural heritage. This one space kept for you to put your fist up and look cool, or to, you know, walk with some swag. There's this one space that's missing and it has your name on it. And that's how the white liberal thinks, right? And of course, in this same book, you know, the author talks about Johnson, you know, James Weldon Johnson. Let me just double check. Yeah, James Weldon Johnson. And here's how James Weldon Johnson looks at it. He says, blacks would eventually meld into a fully unified national culture, and in the process they would lose their racial identity. But Johnson hoped blacks would first develop special qualities that were generally recognized as valuable contributions to the larger society. He did not think it would be necessary to maintain a unique black culture in perpetuity, but he saw the need for doing so in America during his lifetime. He championed the race-conscious black writers of the Harlem literary renaissance and emphasized the importance of black achievement as necessary to repair a damaged group psychology and to pave the way toward eventual assimilation, right? So you see the other side of the coin, right? And these two are considered, different viewpoints, if you will. But there you have it. The black integrationist. So the white integrationist the white liberal is saying, y'all come integrate, but stay black. Stay with that little jazz, that snap your fingers. Stay with that cool. That's what we like about you. We don't want you to, really do anything outside of our agenda, unless you're entertaining us, unless you're being that black culture, that culture which is, dance, song. That's what culture means to white people for some reason, right? Culture is not, making things, building things, doing things. Culture is shaking things. You understand? Shaking things, dribbling, throwing things. That's culture to them, right? And so Johnson, on the other hand, the integrationist, he's saying, look, let's stop being black people, right? And unfortunately, in Race First, Garvey talks about how there's, well, I'll discuss it later, but I won't discuss it later. Actually, I'll discuss the idea that there was 8 black people who came after Garvey, right? Like in particular, they signed a paper. Marcus Garvey must go, right? But those 8, Garvey said, and I wish I had the page number, I wish I had the reference, but I might have folded the paper, I probably didn't, right? But what Garvey is saying is that all of them had octoroon wives if they weren't octoroon themselves. Okay? If they weren't octoroon themselves, all of them had octoroon wives. And that's really important, because you see what this Johnson character is doing. He's looking to eliminate black people in America. Like, he's advocating for a genocide of black people in America. Okay? He's saying, no, we shouldn't keep our racial identity. We should just become useful to white people in some way, particularly if it means that we can get even better positions than entertainer. Like, for instance, if we can be president, we would go for the white agenda. If we can be, if we can work in NYU, we can go for the white agenda. We can do what you want us to do, is what he's saying, right? And notice where he says, emphasize the importance of black achievement. You do this today. You say, hey, look, this is the first surgeon, or hey, look, I graduated from this, I did that, I did this, or she did that, and he did this. You say all that, and that is, and look at why Johnson reasons this, right? It's necessary to repair a damaged group psychology. That's why you do it too, right? And to pave the way toward eventual assimilation. That's what you do too. You understand? You're not saying, hey, this is the first, holistic, medicine practicer in, North Carolina, since our enslavement. You're not saying that. You're saying it's the first doctor. You understand? And it's a whole different world. You're saying, hey, look, we can aspire to be better. And what is better? What is better? So I'm going to read Johnson again just so you can understand more what I'm saying. Right? He said blacks would eventually meld into a fully unified national culture, and in the process they would lose their racial identity. But Johnson hoped blacks would first develop special qualities that were generally recognized as valuable contributions to the larger society. He did not think it would be necessary to maintain a unique black culture in perpetuity, but he saw the need for doing so in America during his lifetime. He championed the race-conscious black writers of the Harlem Literary Renaissance and emphasized the importance of black achievement as necessary to repair a damaged group psychology and to pave the way toward eventual assimilation. Now, again, when you see that he says it's not necessary to maintain a unique black culture in perpetuity, right? And how that's directly contrasted to Spingern, who is saying, a given race or ethnic group should preserve its unique cultural heritage, right? You see who won out. You get what I'm saying? The white liberal wins in the relationship between the white liberal and the black integrationist. The black integrationist is a tool of the white liberal, right? And he spreads the white liberal's message in a sense, right? Or he advocates for the white liberal, but the white liberal ultimately sets the agenda. He says, no, you niggers are gonna be niggers, right? And the integrationist is like, hey, well, really, we just want to be like you. We just want to be you. We just, I got me an octoroon, and bear in mind, an octoroon is ridiculously light. Like an octoroon, you probably can't tell the difference between an octoroon and a white person. I mean, it probably would have been easier back then to tell the difference, but today, an octoroon is just about a white person, right? And there you have it, There you have it, The white liberal sets the agenda, and even the black integrationist just goes along with it. And bear in mind, this is important too, and this was mentioned in Race First, but I didn't record it. I didn't write it down to speak about it. But Du Bois was once like Du Bois stopped being an integrationist. Like he realized that these white liberals were failing him, and they kicked him out of the NAACP and just used another stupid black person. That's it. Because they have an agenda. And your agenda doesn't even make any sense. Your agenda involves too much on their part, but we're gonna go forward, and I'm gonna explain to you this right here. Spingern, right? The same white boy we were just talking about, right? It turns out that, like I told you, there were eight black people who wanted Garvey to go, right? And what they did, had Garvey say, "It is said that there is honor even among thieves, but it is apparent that there is no honor and self-respect among certain Negroes," right? And what he's saying, and what he's referencing, is that these 8 black people who, according to him, were all either octoroons or married to octoroons. And again, that goes back to the whole, what about these mulattoes, right? But these 8 wrote a letter to the Attorney General of the United States at the time, right? Pretty much saying, hey, look, we can help you with this with the case against Garvey. Just get him deported. Get him deported. We can help you with that, or we want that to happen. We are respectful. We're respectable black people. We own businesses. We own companies. We just don't want this guy in our country, right? And like I said, Garvey said it. He said there's no honor among them. But get this. Spingern edited the letter. Like, they sent it to him to see whether or not it was like legally like they couldn't get in trouble for libel, right? They sent it to him. He looked it over, gave it the once over, or his office gave it the once over, right? And that's it, Then they were able to present it to the Attorney General of the United States, right? But the whole thing right there that I'm trying to push to you is that here's this white liberal, right? Giving this document to, let's say, another white liberal. Okay? I mean, it doesn't even matter if it's a white liberal, white conservative, who knows? But the whole point is that it's this white liberal who is fundamental to the destruction of Marcus Garvey. Fundamental. When we talk about the threat of the white liberal, as the song goes, oops, there it is. Right. Or whoops, there it is. Right. Now, another thing Garvey said was, a precedent will be set for the destruction of all Negro organizations that seek in any way to improve the condition of the Negro race, right? And it's prophetic. He's saying that in black people going against Marcus Garvey and his agenda, a precedent will be set for the destruction of all Negro organizations that seek in any way to improve the condition of the Negro race. And with that said, we got to go into our first commercial, right? We're going to go on our first commercial, and you just need to think about what Marcus Garvey said. Again, I'll say it. A precedent will be set for the destruction of all Negro organizations that seek in any way to improve the condition of the Negro race. I'll be back.
Greetings, everyone. This is Koku from the Bitter Medicine Podcast, inviting you to tune in to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Greetings, family. This is Koku, host of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. In case you didn't know, we have an online book club called the Bitter Medicine Book Club. Every month, we will select a book to inspire the Bitter Medicine Podcast listening audience to read along together. At the end of the month, we will have a call-in show and book discussion. This is a great, dynamic way for readers to not only enjoy a book, but also have others to bounce ideas off of. They say if you want to keep anything away from black people, put it in a book. Don't allow this to be true. Head over to bittermedicineblogs.com and subscribe to our newsletter for important updates. Do that today. Join our reading collective today and empower yourselves, your family, and your community. Peace and blessings. You are listening to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio.
Now, as I told you before, I have an article called Critique of the Race Traders Abolish the White Race, right? So these white people call themselves abolitionists, right? Because they're trying to abolish the white race as it is, right? And it's a long critique of an article some white boys wrote regarding, what they believe to be a good solution for let's say the quote unquote race problem, right? And it really gives you insight into the thinking of white people and white liberals in particular, right? So one of the things that they would say is actually let me get it, because so white people would say, look, the white race cuts across ethnic and class lines. It is not coextensive with that portion of the population of European descent, since many of those classified as colored Yeah, I don't even want to dignify this. All right, so it says, nor does membership in the white race imply wealth, since there are plenty of poor whites as well as some people of wealth and comfort who are not white, right? And so, in response, and I think this is really important to include, right? I said, as the poor whites, that should be a non-issue to Africans. This is a European economy, which is designed to have poor and rich. That's not an African problem. The African problem is that Africans are in this European economy, right? So this is, of course, before I was using the word Eurasian, right? But like I said, it was from 2012, right? But pay attention to that, right? A European economy, right? It's really a European culture, because like I said, the European economy is designed to have poor and rich. In the European culture is designed to have poor and rich, right? And so the problem that African people have, our people have, is that we are Africans in a European economy, or in a Eurasian economy, in our enemy's economy, in our enemy's culture. We are a people in our enemy's culture. The enemy's culture, however, is hierarchical. Okay, it's designed to have poor and rich. You understand? And if you want, I could pull up that quote, where a white person, explains what his ideal, what the ideal community is, So I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna put. It's it's difficult to find. These quotes, because they're in a list of a whole bunch of quotes. But let's see. Do I search the word Von? Nope. Yeah, there you go. So it's Count Metternich, where he says, "Gentlemen, behold the true philosophy of society. Gentlemen in this palace, serfs in the field, and an impassable barrier between." So this is Count Metternich, right? And of course, John Edward Bruce said in return, the Count Metternichs of today have the same thought, right? But pay attention to this too. This is what Count Metternich says, right? "Gentlemen, behold the true philosophy of society. Gentlemen in this palace, serfs in the field, and an impassable barrier between," right? But Metternich, right, he was born in 1773 in Germany, and he died in 1859 in Austria, right? I'm gonna check out to see if he's ever been in America, right? Because it doesn't look like he's ever been in America. The point is that what he's talking about, right, is I will reason strictly applicable to other white people. You understand? The idea is that he believes that in white society, right, not with black people around, right, but in white society, poor whites on one side, rich whites on the other, and an impassable barrier in between is ideal. You know what I'm saying? And this is just among white people. So of course, as the proverb goes, if a crocodile eats its own flesh, what's it gonna do to the? No, it's its own. When a crocodile eats its own eggs, what's it gonna do to the flesh of a frog? And that you could find in the Pro-Black Compendium. But in that proverb, it's saying, hey, look, white people do this to themselves. They create a barrier between their poor, an impassable barrier between their own poor. What do you think they're gonna do to you? You understand? What do you think you're going to do to you? See, The problem is not that there are poor people, because I told you the system is designed for poverty. It's designed for there to be poor people. Count Metternich, right, thought that was ideal, and he's and like I call him, he's Count Metternich. I'm looking at his spouses now. He was married to a princess, a baroness, and then a countess. You get what I'm saying? Let's see. He's known for the Congress of Vienna, which is, probably something important, right? But, and really, I'm just not that interested in white people that I'm gonna really look so deeply into it. Oh, it looks like he himself was a prince, right? And again, I don't regard white people as having a potentiality for royalty. I'm trying to explain to you that they are. I'm trying to explain to you that this is not some Hoboken or just not some not some little like beggared on the street. This is somebody white people would regard as dignified, right? Or influential, powerful, whatever, right? And he's saying this about white people, because a lot of people have conversations and say, hey, look, there's racism, racism has this to do, blah blah, and oh, they're blocking us, they're blocking black people from progress or whatever. They're blocking black, but it's like they're blocking their poor from progress. They're blocking people. They're blocking their own people from progress. Why do you think you would skip the line? Like they don't want anybody jumping the line, but why do you not think that you would not? Why do you think you wouldn't be on the bottom of that? Like, why do you think that you would be in the middle? You're gonna get it worse than the worst white person. Then the worst a white person's gonna get it. And the reason being is because you're not even white. Like they don't like any of you, and you're not even white, right? So later on in the same article, I don't talk about Metternich in this article, but in the Abolish the White Race article, you see that these white boys are advocating for treason to whiteness is loyalty to humanity, dissolve the club. And what that translates into, like I explained in the article, is that the Occidental will sexually prey upon the original, making a quote-unquote human race that's not original, right? So essentially the genocide of the original, right? So in a nutshell, there are white people, right, who would there are the white liberal. There are white liberals that would breed with black people and thus destroy the black bloodline. I mean, not infinitely destroy it, but like with the regards to the quad, like eventually create that quadroon who is indistinguishable. You get what I'm saying? Indistinguishable from them. And really, I feel like this like the reason why I even bring up this article is because of this more important sentiment, where here's what they write. They say, recently one of our editors, unfamiliar with New York City traffic laws, made an illegal right turn there on a red light. He was stopped by 2 cops in a patrol car. After examining his license, they released him with a courteous admonition. Had he been black, they probably would have ticketed him and might even have taken him down to the station. A lot of history was embodied in that small exchange. The cops treated the miscreant leniently, at least in part, because they assumed, looking at him, that he was white and therefore loyal. Their courtesy was a habit meant both to reward good conduct and induce future cooperation. And I mean, and I'm gonna, and the thing is that I commented on a later passage, so I'm just gonna read that earlier passage. they say, and really, I don't really like reading white people, so bear in mind, right? So here's the later thing. He says, these white boys say, had the driver cursed them or displayed a bumper sticker that said "Avenge Rodney King," the cops might have reacted differently. We admit that neither gesture on the part of a single individual would in all likelihood be of much consequence. But if enough of those who looked white broke the rules of the club to make the cops doubt their ability to recognize a white person merely by looking at him or her, how would it affect the cops' behavior? And if the police, the courts, and the authorities in general were to start spreading around indiscriminately the treatment they normally reserve for people of color, how would the rest of the so-called whites react? Now, this is so stupid, right? Because anybody with two eyes can tell who's white and who's not white, right? They're basically saying, if white people started to behave in a certain way that indicated that they're not really loyal to other white people, essentially that they're, for lack of a better word, nigger lovers, right? If they showed that, avenge Rodney King or, fuck the police, whatever, right? If they did all that on a wider scale, right, then perhaps the courts would treat them like they start treating white people on site, negatively, like they treat, black people, right? And if they did that, then maybe more white people would react to it, right? And stupid idea, right? Because it's really stupid, right? And I know someone, if you ever tell somebody that, they might say, well, that's a good argument, but like seriously, they might say I made a good argument by saying it's just stupid, but seriously, let's be realistic. There's nothing of value there, because it's like these people wrote this 10 years before I wrote my article. They don't even exist anymore as far as I can tell. If they did, they have, almost like the impact they're having on the world is so minimal. White people have short, they're not doing anything. They're not this is not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. It's not reality. It's just white people playing around in their little minds, and because they're white, people might give them more credit than they deserve. But really, this idea is just stupid. It's because white people, because let's be honest, the police don't have to, they wouldn't necessarily stop. I mean, the thing is, first off, the basis is it's just so bizarre. It's really just so bizarre. It goes by the assumption that white people are like say if you say white people treat white people better, then even in that assumption, it's always been conditional in a sense. You know what I mean? If you were hostile to and it's you would have to be hostile to them for them to be hostile to you. Particularly if you're white. So it wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't change anything. It's really just remarkably stupid. But the reason why I quoted this is mainly for the bigger reason, right? Because one thing you're not going to pick up on, because what you're doing right now is you're trying to analyze the argument, trying to see what's good about the argument, whether it can work, whether it couldn't work, all that stuff. You're doing all that, and that's what white people want you to do. They want to confuse you. They want you to think in some stupid hypothetical that cannot be enacted. They want you to waste your time. They want you to, consider this, consider that, say, hey man, maybe that has merits, maybe we can work on that, maybe we can so on and so forth. But the real problem is never really addressed, right? And so here's what I wrote, and bear in mind, I wrote this 5 years ago, so you're really late. Oh, sorry, let me see, 6 years ago, right? But anyway, so I say, again, there's no issue here with the officers being Occidental. Basically, there's no issue here with the officers being white. For the laws following Occidentalism, for the laws being written by white people, or for the courts and authorities being white. The issue is the difference of treatment afforded the two groups from the power that is the Occidental himself. Right? Now, it might be a little hard to unpackage that, but just to say it briefly, right? Basically, these white liberals are simply saying, hey, we recognize that black people are being treated differently under the same system, right? Our solution then is, let's confuse everything and then, blah, blah. But the reality is that they want this same racial hierarchy to continue. You understand? They have no problem with the officer being white, with the laws being white, with the court and the authorities being white. They're just saying, hey, look, since these things are going to be white and white people treat white people better, let's see if we can mess up that. Instead of the reality that maybe white people shouldn't be ruling over black people. You get what I'm saying? The reality is that white people should not be ruling over black people. And that's what you need to understand. But because you don't understand that, right? You were there thinking, oh well, this white boy got some, he got some merits. True enough. Maybe the courts would treat us better if no, or maybe white people would be on our side more if white people started being treated poorly because of no. No. The problem is that you're following these white laws. You're being run by these white officers. You're being, nobody cares if white people treat you differently. The problem is that white people have power over you. White people can pull you over and tell you, hey, look, do X, Y, Z, or get out of your car, step out of your vehicle, or don't, whatever. Or you were speeding according to my rules, my rules. And of course, I'm not saying, hey, don't go out and speed, or we shouldn't have any laws against speeding, or we should have laws against speeding. But there's more serious things that white people rule you against you, that you have no role in, and that it doesn't. And let's face it, your communities are not necessarily where they should be, notwithstanding these laws. Notwithstanding the quote unquote order that these white people are putting on you, right? And in a sense, it comes down to, like I said, I'm gonna explain to you the four groups, right? The white liberal, the black integrationist, the white conservative, and the white nationalist, right? And here's how. And if you look at it, you'll pay attention, right? The white liberal is saying, I have a good nation, come serve me. That's the white liberal saying. He says, I have a good nation, come serve me, right? And the black integrationist says, you have a good nation, let me serve you. You understand? Like, go back to Spingarn, go back to these quote unquote race traders, right? And you'll see this white liberal notion of, I have a good nation. Like even in that little passage I showed you with the race traders, they're saying, hey, look, this nation, the officer stops me and he tells me to, keep it moving. I messed up, yada yada, and that's how it should be for everybody. That's how it should be for everybody. We, not so much that, like, the problem is not that the officer stopped you, right? The problem is that the officer didn't treat you as well as he treats a white person, right? But go back to Spingarn and you could see this more explicitly. The whole idea of, hey, look, come into our society, integrate into our society, but keep yourself black. You know what I'm saying? Keep yourself black, right? And then you see with James Weldon Johnson, he's like, hey, look, you guys got a good society. I just want to contribute. I want to be especially, deserving of that contribution, of contributing to you. And I want to integrate, forget my identity, right? Let me serve you. You understand? And then fast forward, to the white conservative. Now, what the white conservative says is, I have my nation running how I want. Go build your own. You see what I'm saying? The white conservative is different. and you could pick up on them, from like, any old show, but pretty much it's not so much that they're saying they have a good nation as much as they're running their nation how they want it to. You know what I'm saying? How they want to. They want a nation a certain way. They want to pull you over, right? Not so much they want to pull. Let's not say they want to pull. Let's say they want the police to be, driving around in the community, making sure that things are running smoothly according to them. You know what I'm saying? So they say, I have my nation running how I want. Why don't you go build your own, black man? You understand? They don't want you here. Okay, but you're here, and what you want to do is you want to run in a different way, or you want the nation to run a different way. You understand? And so the black nationalists, what they say is, you have your nation running how you want. I'll build my own. You understand? Like the black nationalist says, hey, look, you have a nation and you're running it how you want, right? So, let's face it, white people are a bunch of savages. They want to do a bunch of savage stuff. Hey, look, that's fine. That's what they're about. That's who they are. You know what I'm saying? We need to go build our own. That's all. That's it. I'm gonna hit you with a commercial.
Greetings, everyone. This is Koku from the Bitter Medicine Podcast, inviting you to tune in to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
When will African people have basic rights? When will we be protected? When will our cost of living be eliminated? When will our cultures be preserved? We need a new leadership, one that has studied the problems and learned the solutions. The Pro-Black Compendium is the book to start off that leadership. Quotations, essays, poems, stories, codes of conduct, curricula, principles, relationship advice, marketing tips, group economics, games, book clubs, movie nights, chronologies, civilizations, wars, warriors, authors, songs, conflict resolution. The list goes on. There is no book more necessary for starting our people on the path to African redemption.
You are listening to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio.
So in 1922, Marcus Garvey meets with the leader of the Ku Klux Klan. And the leader of the Ku Klux Klan informs Garvey that the Klan was stronger in the North than the South. Okay? So this Klan is stronger in the North than it is in the South. Some of you didn't know that. When quote-unquote white segregationist puts forward a bill that would send certain people in America to Africa, particularly Liberia, in order to get some land and start a nation of their own, Marcus Garvey, is supportive of that bill, right? And it's really just it's really one of those white people who are like, yo, black people are inferior, we need to get out, all that crap, right? But Garvey says, look, let's be real. The senator's desire for carrying out the purpose of his bill may not be as idealistic as Negroes may want, but that is not the point to be considered. What is wanted now is the opportunity of the Negro to establish himself, and there is no doubt that this bill offers such an opportunity. Right? Essentially, what I told you earlier. The white conservative is saying, hey, my nation is running how I want it to run, right? Don't need no black folk messing that up. Why don't you all build your own nations, right? And before anyone, and of course, a lot of us are liberals would tell us, hey, look, you built this country. You get what I'm saying? And certainly there was a lot of human labor on our part, regarding, like this nation or this country or whatever, right? But let's face facts as well as fancies. White people were using our ancestors as tools, and you might, if you build a shelf, you could say, hey, look, it's really the hammer that built the shelf, right? Or it's really the tree that built the shelf, or really but let's face it, unfortunately, with of course there's plenty of exceptions, right? But unfortunately, for the most part, when you talk about who willed what, right? It's better to just leave that aspect alone, if you get what I'm saying. Because the way how, and it's not that white people are important or nothing or anything, right? But it's more so to say that let's, like I said, let's face facts as well as fancies. What we have done was pretty much involuntary. And the involuntary aspect of it, makes it so that, you got to ask who was, what was directing it, if you understand what I'm saying. I mean, it's not even something that I even want to talk about, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. Some people would say, hey, look, man, I don't understand what you're saying, you didn't say it. And that's fine. If you don't want to, if you don't understand, that's something. Maybe ask me. Write in the comments. Hey, what did you mean by this, right? But let's face facts as well as fancies, right? This white boy is gonna credit himself with building this nation because, at the time of this nation being built, this white boy, would see you as a tool, as a tool, as a hammer, as a screwdriver, not necessarily, and not to say that, this white boy is some architect or something, but more or less, at the end of the day, when one is making another person or forcing another person to do something, right, like, what was done, you get what I'm saying, right? Yeah. So, see, I don't like to say anything, I don't forget it, like, you get what I'm saying. So, like, this white boy is not gonna say, hey, I didn't build this, and it's not about what he says or what he doesn't say. It's just, for the most part, in this culture, if you will, it's, notwithstanding what the labor is, notwithstanding, like, who's doing most of the work, if you will, right? The end goal, or the way how this, this person's culture, and economy works, or politics works, is that the credit goes upstairs, or the credit goes up top. You get what I'm saying? And like for instance, the general wins the war, not the soldiers. You understand? And of course, in the case of warfare, it's right that the general wins the war. It's not. But of course, like I said, these are people of simplistic mentality. But at the same time, it's not, wholly incorrect, if you get what I'm saying, right? So when we do talk about these conservatives and what Garvey was saying about, this particular senator, right? It's not to say that we should be looking to white conservatives for assistance. You get what I'm saying? We have to realize that both white liberals and white conservatives are our enemies, right? And of course, that's not to say that you might not necessarily, use their assistance in the future. For instance, if you wanted to get a plane to Africa, or if you needed a vaccination, in case you actually needed one, or for the case of, let's say, you write a good book and you have to ask Amazon to sell it, like I did with the Pro-Black Compendium and Zuberi and the Maroons of Maa. Or if you're in freaking America and you need to drink clean water, so on and so forth, right? It's not to say that you're not going to ever need, like if it comes to necessities or whatever, or it's not to say that yada yada, but let's face it, the white liberal, the white conservative, the white people in general are just not good for you. I simplified the white conservative message earlier, and say, hey, maybe this might be consistent, but it's a simplification. There's a lot more that goes into it, there's a lot of things that you wouldn't agree with, or you shouldn't agree with, but that's what it is. But going back to this whole, threat of the white liberal, and pretending like Garvey didn't just say it all, we saw in both Spingern and the race traders, right, that these white people still want to maintain a racial hierarchy. Just like the white conservative, the white liberal, they want to maintain a certain racial hierarchy. Okay? And the only difference, though, is that the white liberal, is saying, hey, look, we can use you. We can use you. And so black people, we might look at them and say, hey, look, this is somebody who can use me, and because of that, that's where their threat is. Because the reality is that you're supposed to look to build your own. You get what I'm saying? But the way how these white liberals have it is that they have you looking to integrate with them, looking to assimilate with them, looking to build them up. You know what I'm saying? Looking to build them up, looking to entertain them, and like that's why like I said, you gotta read your Garvey, you gotta read your Cooks, and you gotta read your Oni, right? Because when I first heard this question, I was confused. How is the white liberal a threat if I'm just looking to build African power, as described and designed in the Pro-Black Compendium and Zuberi and Maroons of Maa? Why would I look to them? Why would I see them as a problem if I'm just looking to do me? But then I realized, well, look, if I didn't know about nationalism, right, then I'd probably know about integrationism. And if I knew about integrationism, then sure, the liberal would look good. But then if the liberal is good, the liberal is good for integration. And if I'm pursuing integration, then I'm part of the problem. You know what I'm saying? The black people, what we need to do is we need to practice Pan-African nationalism, or at least African nationalism. But whatever it is, we need to practice, empowering ourselves and bringing forth our own racial hierarchy, our own position. We're supposed to work towards bringing ourselves up to the top. And these white people, they're not interested in that. Spingern did not say, hey, look, I want black people to have a strong functional economy, right? The white race traders, quote unquote, did not look for, did not say, hey, look, we need black people as the officers, as the judges, as the lawyers. None of that. You get what I'm saying? But that's exactly what you need. Not to say that you need, Western occupations or whatever, right? What I'm saying is that you need to be the people in power. But white people are not advocating for that. White liberals are not advocating for that. You might find a white conservative who says, "Hey, look, go have power over yourself." Maybe, possibly. It's not really as frequent as you think, but it's more like, "Hey, look, get out and go to Africa." Right? Go to Africa. You probably could do some wonders there. Right? Or they might even say, go to Detroit. You might see some, whatever. But the whole point is that that's what you need to be doing. You need to be going to Africa or going to a black location and building it up, developing it. You need to be going to the hood, developing it. But go back in time and remember what Garvey said, that these black integrationists, right, set a new precedent for destroying anything that would uplift African people, right? It's all fair. And you got to realize that's why, going back or making it more clear, white people are at war with black people, right? They want to, and that war involves keeping white people on top. And the difference, of course, is that the white liberal looks for black people to be entertainers, and the black conservative, the white conservative looks to, he looks for his own white entertainment. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I don't really need these. I don't really need you. I don't really need you to be here. I could be pure. I could have purity. I could laugh at my own jokes. I could dance my own, square dancing or whatever. I'm good with that. And the white liberal saying, hey, that's not enough. I could dance to jazz. I could go fuck me a nigger. You know what I'm saying? I could do all these other stupid things. Right? I could just, keep you as a freaking pet, and then shoot you somewhere, because again, the Klan's stronger in the North than in the South. You understand what I'm saying? But yeah, I need more. Like you need to get a hold, because like I said, you need to start practicing nationalism. You need to get a hold of these nationalist books. Like I said, Garvey, Cooks, and Oni, right? And it's late. Okay, it's like 1:55 a.m. right now. So, and usually I don't say that. But anyway, and yeah, I usually would edit it out, but whatever, right? You have to get these books, okay? These are the nationalist books, okay? These are the books of nationalists. These are the nationalists, right? You need to see what nationalism is. Order the books, read them, digest them, and we need to start being nationalists, because let's face it, for the most part, we're behaving like integrationists. This whole, black achievement, we sound like James Weldon Johnson, and we're going along with the Springern agenda when we should be about Garvey, right? So definitely, read those books, start working with people in your community. Get them to get the books too, but start working with people in your communities, for whatever it is that you need to accomplish, whether it's to go over to Africa and build up something, whether it's to stay here and build, or stay abroad and build something, whatever it is that you're looking to do, pick up these books, then do them. Okay? The Pro-Black Compendium is an activity guide. Zuberi and Maroons of Maa is a real life image of what white people don't want to happen. Okay? You need to read these. Alright? Read these, and that's it. But as far as the threat of the white liberal is concerned, insofar as they are pulling you away from nationalism, right? They are a problem. They are your problem. But of course, again, all white people are your problem. But The thing that white liberals are doing is that they're making it so that black nationalism seems less attractive, and that's the real problem, because you need to get on the black nationalist agenda. Point blank, period. But thank you so much for listening. Like I said, it's 1:57 a.m., but Shemi Amotep, Ankh Uja Seneb Neb, Amen, Ma'at, Dua Nature. Thank you for listening. I invite you to join hands with your brothers and sisters as we recite the African affirmation together. It's a call and response, so follow my lead. We are an African people, robbed from our homeland, robbed of our names, our languages, our cultures, our religions, our womanhood, our manhood, our sisterhood, our brotherhood, our motherhood, our fatherhood, our selfhood, our nationhood, and our self-respect. But we shall rise, never to fall again. Up, you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.